All right, guys, I've got something a little bit different for you in this video. Have you ever wondered what it would be like if you took a normal, average smartphone user, replaced their normal, average smartphone, their slab phone, with a folding phone like a Z Fold for a few weeks? How would they cope with that? Would they find themselves liking it, disliking it? What would their opinions be? That is the topic for today's video because I ran exactly that experiment with my wife, Jessi. All right, so I am here with special guest on the podcast, my lovely wife, Jessi.
Hello.
I think we have potentially a fairly interesting conversation here because my channel so often caters to folding phones and therefore users of folding phones. And sometimes it's easy to just get in this headspace of the way that us folding phone users think about things is normal. Like we're the normal people, but in reality, we're not the normal people. And so I had this idea a while back, actually a long time ago, and we just finally got to the place where I had the ability to really do it, where I was going to basically force you into using a folding phone. I was going to say, give me your phone, and I took your SIM out and I put it into Z Fold 4 and I said, you're using this. She was okay with it. I didn't actually force her.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see how you would use it and what your thoughts on it would be, because you are much more of a normal phone user than I am. You're much more like you just, you're a more just average phone user.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not doing anything special over here on my phones.
yeah, so you've had the Z Fold 4 now for like a few weeks, right? Like it's been a little while.
Yeah, it's not been a month yet, has it?
It's close. I think it's just been a few weeks. Definitely long enough to have, some insight and some thoughts on what that's been like. And that's what I want to talk about. So just broadly speaking, whatever just comes to mind, I don't know how long this video is going to be, but whatever comes to mind, how has it been going from what your last phone was, the Pixel? There is a barking dog in the background. Your last phone was the Pixel 8 Pro, right? That's what you came from? So going from the Pixel 8 Pro to the Galaxy Z Fold 4, what was that experience like in general? Just like I said, whatever comes to mind first.
So the first thing that comes to mind, and I know I'm gonna sound like a Pixel fanboy, I kind of am though, but is that I miss the Pixel software, and I don't love Samsung software. Like it's a little bit just too, it's just a lot. It's too much for me. Too complicated. But as far as like physically, I had to be a lot more careful because it's a lot more fragile. And I'm very difficult with phones, so I've completely changed how I hold my phone, how I care for my phone, where I put my phone, when I use my phone.
There's some dog stuff happening in the background. So you feel yourself feeling like a sense of like almost paranoia holding this folding phone. And now, do you think you would have felt that same way had you not observed my original Pixel Fold self-destruct? Or do you think that made it worse for you, that you were like, oh man, like seeing it break, you're like, oh, I really am scared now?
Yeah, well, I think number one is that this phone outside of the case is just like super pristine. It's super pretty. The case, I feel like obviously does help, but seeing what happened to the Pixel phone and just knowing like they're very fragile, I'm just like, oh God, like what if I crack the screen? And they're already, like we found out like there's a tiny little scratch like right in the center.
So that Z Fold 4 for the last maybe year or so has had a teeny tiny little micro crack. I'm fairly certain it's a crack in the middle of the screen.
It's gotten bigger since I've used it.
I'd have to look. Well, I mean, it would make sense if you're, because it had been mostly retired. So it's being open and closed, open and closed. I'll try to maybe capture some B-roll here of it. I'll see if I can capture it on camera a little bit. It's hard to spot, but it reminds me, a friend of ours had a Z Fold 3, and he had a crack that ran the entire
Yeah.
length of the crease.
Yeah, and
And
that
he
made me
asked,
nervous.
well, what was crazy about that was that he asked me like, you know, what I thought about that, and I was like, oh, like I would expect the phone to outright fail
Mhm.
imminently. He continued using it for like months with, I mean,
Yeah.
it was the same similar thing where if you're looking straight at it, you wouldn't see it, but if you got off axis, you would see this
Mhm.
line that ran the entire length of the crease.
Yeah.
He continued using it for like months. I think he traded it in towards an S23 or
Yeah.
24 Ultra. He just continued using it. So I'm not like, there's two reasons I'm not super worried about it. One, it's the Fold 4. It's older. It's mostly retired. I'm not making content about it anymore. And then
Mhm.
two, I've seen Z Folds with cracks in the middle of the screen continue on. So I'm not super freaked out about it either way, but it is interesting that you're feeling some additional apprehension
Well, also
using it.
because it's not necessarily my phone. When I'm using a phone that I know is mine, I mean, it's gonna get scratched. We're gonna put a screen protector on it and we're gonna put a really heavy duty case around it, but it's gonna get scratched and I'm gonna drop it. And I have not dropped this phone. Actually, it's a lie. It fell. I Well, because do you remember I had it underneath my pillow and it fell between the bed and the wall?
Yeah, yeah,
So
I
it
do remember that.
did, and it hit like the lip of the bed, and then it fell. Yeah,
Wasn't
so
it was
that was
not too far.
yeah. So that was the only time that I dropped it, but I've been very careful with it because it's not my phone. Um, and also, funnily enough, is you're talking about our friend that had the cracked one. As soon as I started using it, like literally the day I started using it and took it to work, I was so nervous. And one of my coworkers there, actually one of my department supervisors at work, has the new one, so the 6.
Hmm.
Um, and his is brand new. He has like a crack like along the top, and like those pixels are busted. And I was just like
Yeah,
so nervous. I was like, oh my god, like I'm so hard on phones, so I need to be careful.
it's an
Um,
unfortunate reality of these folding phones is sometimes they
yes.
just spontaneously fail, and it may have been to no fault of the user.
Mhm.
It can just happen.
But it has made me very, very careful, and it's changed the way that I use my phone. Um, Kind of similarly to when I had the Z Flip.
Yeah,
Like I just used my phone in a different way. Like I had it in like the clamshell position, like on the desk if I was doing stuff, and like I only opened it when I felt like I needed to, and then any other time like I would just have it on the desk and look at the cover screen and stuff. I use the front part of the screen the entirety of the time that I'm at work. The only time I ever open it up when I'm at work is when I'm in the break room and I'm reading my book.
well,
Or
let's expand upon that.
yeah.
So obviously when you're at work, you're trying to be careful with it, so you're not
Hmm.
opening it. When you're in a leisurely setting and you do open it, what do you find, like what app, what activity seems to be the thing that you're like, oh, this is why I have a tablet in my pocket? What are you actually using that for?
It is entire. I about dropped it. It is entirely for my book app.
So a large portion of your tablet use is
Hmm.
just as an e-reader, basically.
Yes. And so the first couple of weeks that I had it, I spent the first couple of days not doing any multitasking, and I still don't ever multitask. Like if I am multitasking, I'll usually have like my messages over here, and then like maybe I'm like shopping on the other screen or something. Or sometimes what I'll do is like I'll have Sheen on one side and like I don't know, like Temu or Rumwe on the other side, or
Comparative
eBay on
shopping.
the other. Yeah, comparative shopping.
Let me ask you
Yeah.
this. So I just talked about this in a video. I've talked about it a couple times, but at a Google event last year, early
Mhm.
this year, Google had said that with the original Pixel Fold, that 47% of users were using split screen, two apps side by side.
Yeah.
I thought that sounded insane because I was like, if you're getting a folding phone, like that's one of the things you're going to use it for. Like that seemed really low to me. Now through, more interactions and more thinking and more, analysis of this, it makes more sense to me. To you, 47% of people using split screen, does that make more sense? Does that make sense to you? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, because I just don't think I think a majority of people aren't capable of doing the kind of multitasking that you and a lot of your audience do. Um, like for me, I cannot simultaneously go back and forth. A lot of times what I do is I have my book app on one side and I have it reading aloud, and then I'll be doing something on the other side if I'm doing that. But, I just I can't use it in that way, and I haven't tried. I haven't even tried again. I just use it for
Like a
the
big phone,
tablet.
basically.
Yeah. Yeah, when I want the tablet, I have it open. Like I don't even know if I'm answering your question or
No,
not,
you are.
but so like one thing that I do too that I've catching myself do a lot is like when I'm working out upstairs, I've got my treadmill and I've got my earbuds in, and I used to carry one of our tablets. Like I had a little Lenovo Duo that I would take
Duet.
upstairs. Duet, thank you. The Duet upstairs, and I would have like a video playing or whatever. But now what I've been doing, and I've been setting up, where is it? My little kickstand on my shelf up there, and I turn it in this mode, and then I have my book app up, and I have it like really large because it sits a couple feet in front of me, and I have it reading aloud, and I just watch the little assistive reader like go as I'm working out, instead of like watching like a video or something, because sometimes the videos get boring for me, but a book is not going to get boring.
Do you feel like there's enough utility there with that tablet screen, the way that you're using it, to warrant continuing to use that phone, or do you see yourself looking at your old Pixel 8 or maybe devices like the Pixel 9, and do you find yourself looking at slab phones and thinking, I'm probably like more at home, better fit on a slab phone?
It is it is actually really surprising to me because I thought that I would not want to keep using a folding phone. Like I really was like, oh, I'll use it for like a couple of weeks or a month and then I'll want to go back to
Yeah.
my slab phone. I'm really hesitant to go back to one just because I really like I love reading on it, and I like okay, so one use I have used my calculator with like some of my other apps too. I can't remember what for. Or like I've had like my calendar on one side and I've my text messages on the other, and I'm in the group chat and we're talking about dates of festivals that we want to go to and stuff.
And
Like
you're able
I
to do that.
really like that.
Sounds like you're finding fairly, significant
It's
utility.
rare. It's
But
rare. Yeah.
it's rare to do the split
Yeah.
screen, but in general, you are finding that there is utility to having a large screen in your pocket. And
Yeah.
such that you're hesitant to go back to just a normal phone.
I am, but the only thing that really, really makes me want to go back currently is that I love the new Pixel phone that came out. Like, I'm in love with it. I love the way it looks, and I have phone envy, and I want to use it, but I also don't want to stop using this phone.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool to have one of the Pixel folds, but then I'm like, they're too fragile for me right now. I can't do it.
Yeah, that
Can't do
nervousness
it.
from what happened with mine. What about just the overall form factor of the device? So obviously that's the Fold 4, and the
Yeah.
6 is wider on the cover display is a bit wider.
Yeah,
Do you
I
feel
would
like
love that.
you feel like you've adjusted to the more narrow cover display? You're not a fan of it?
No, it's well known with my friends that I cannot type like a normal person, and I have like really bad typos. I've actually, what I've had to do, because I guess like for the first little bit I was not using Gboard, Google
Mm-hmm.
Board keyboard. I was struggling because like the keyboard on there is so narrow.
Yeah.
I was I mean, I just was writing the most bizarre stuff when I'm trying to type on it because it's so small, like the buttons are so small. I actually had to go in and turn off like the setting where it like what is it called when it suggests like the next word to you and it just
Predictive.
types it out. Oh my god, I had to turn that off. I turned off my autocorrect. So I'm literally just typing, making mistakes, deleting it, typing it out again, and just being careful because I just could not stop. Everything I typed on there was a typo, and I'm like, this is so embarrassing. I
Is
have
it
to.
is it better with Gboard?
It's better with Gboard. And then, like I said, I turned off those settings. But one thing that is really nice is when I can, I open up this and
The split keyboard.
I use the split keyboard, and I really like that.
Yeah.
Like I thought I was gonna hate that, but I love that. I
Yeah.
actually really, really love that.
That's interesting. What about
So
the thickness and the weight of the phone? When it's closed, it's pretty thick. That one, obviously, the Fold 4 was before the Fold was able to fold totally flat, so it's kind of got a bit of a wedge shape.
yeah.
And then you have a case on it as well. So how do you
Yeah.
feel about the weight and the thickness?
I like it. I like a thick phone, like the Energizer phone, and then that one that's like literally a brick. I
Yeah.
love that. It doesn't bother me at all.
Okay.
I
And that's
actually kind of like
interesting.
it.
That's interesting because you have very, very small hands. Like you have like
Yes.
preposterously like can you do me
Yeah.
a favor and just hold the phone up and just hold your hand up next to the phone? Like she has her hands are tiny.
I have
So
like
the
baby hands.
yeah, like my hands are small. Like people will comment that like sometimes like when I'm like holding these phones that like I make them look bigger. But
Yeah.
like your hands are about 2/3 the size of mine. Like your hands are tiny, tiny.
Yeah.
So the fact that that's interesting that you don't feel any, and maybe the narrowness in that regard, it
It
might be
helps.
easier for you to hold on to.
Yeah, it helps. So like the last time we went for a walk around the neighborhood, I was wearing like leggings that didn't have pockets in it, which I hate. I hate having this phone and not having pockets because it makes me feel so paranoid. I gripped it the entire time we were walking. And because it's narrow, it wasn't too
You're
bad.
easy,
And
yeah.
so I like that and I like the weight for that reason because I don't feel like I'm just going to accidentally drop it. I think if I was using like the fold, like it would be harder because it's more wide or
Meaning
like
the newer Pixel Fold or
yeah, the
the or
Pixel
any I guess
Fold.
either one of the Pixel Folds
Yeah, or the One Plus
open.
Open or even if we went back in time and I was using the Duo, like
The
it would
Duo
just
was
be really hard.
yeah, the Duo was very, very wide.
Yeah, it is
Um,
very wide.
one more thing that I want to quickly ask about. How have you felt? And I know that this is the Fold 4 and we're on the Fold 6, but the camera has virtually not changed from 4 to 6. It's
Mm.
gotten a little bit better. The Fold 6 is a little bit
Mm.
better, but I think if we talk about the Fold 4, it's still fairly relevant. How have you felt about the cameras on there?
I don't like the cameras. I like the having a larger viewfinder.
Like you
Which
actually are you're opening the thing up
I'm
and
doing
taking
this.
a photo with the large
Yeah,
viewfinder.
I'm doing this thing. The selfie camera is horrible. In my opinion, I don't know if it's because it's like under the screen and
Yes.
I get it smudgy,
It's because
but
it's under the screen. It's just it's really bad.
like I'm sorry, every photo I take is so freaking blurry. What
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah,
Oh wait, it processed it
it
looks a
clears
little
it
bit
up a
better.
bit, but it's under the
It's not
display.
great.
It looks bad. If you're gonna take a selfie,
Yeah.
what you should do is either use the selfie on the cover display, close it, or have
Does
you
it give you a preview on there? Because I've never used it that way.
you can also yes, so you there's also an
I'm
option
dumb.
if you look if you and this is actually relevant because
Yeah.
we talk about how these devices are more complicated. There's more to do in them, and sometimes people can miss features. Maybe you should have watched my tips
Yeah.
and tricks video, Jesse. I don't know.
I
But there's
should
a
have, but you know me, and I just cannot be bothered.
so there's two things you could do. You could either close it. There's a selfie camera on the cover display, and just use that. If
Oh,
it's
yeah, I knew about
yeah,
that. I'm dumb. I
or
knew about that.
if it's opened in your camera, there should be a button in the top right that will, yeah, I mean, that's
That's
significantly
way
better.
better. I'm
There's an
so silly.
option in the top right when you're in your camera app that will let you do the rear camera selfie. So you'll have the cover display turned on and you can take a picture with the main display. So you would just flip it around and use that as your viewfinder and take a photo with the good camera.
So we went to the museum, the McClung Museum, and I did take some really cool photos. I was pretty happy with some of these. It's hard to see that. Like
Yeah,
maybe
it's
I'll
hard to get
send
it
them
in
to you
focus,
or
but
whatever. But I was pretty happy with like the detail. Like here's this weird like knitted body mask from some culture. I can't remember which one.
I think it
But
was an
it got
African
like
culture.
a lot of detail. Like
Yeah.
you could tell the texture, like it looks crunchy, you know?
So
So
besides the selfie, the inner selfie camera being really bad, have you been mostly okay with the camera performance? Have you found yourself, wishing it was better?
I still love the simplicity of the Google cameras, and I feel like I don't know, I feel like it's just so easy for me just to take a photo and just be I could literally just take I don't even have to try that hard to like make it look good. Like it's just going to look good, it's going to do its processing. I'm not like totally turned off by the regular camera. It's okay.
So it sounds like overall, like honestly, it's been a more positive experience for you than I was expecting. I expected
Mhm.
you. So this was my frame of reference, and this is maybe interesting as well. Back several years ago, we purchased the LG V60
Oh
Thin
yeah.
Q with the
Oh
dual
yeah.
screen case. You
And
tested
that was
that
like
out.
my introduction into two screens.
You tried that for, less than a
It was like
week.
30 days. Oh,
No,
what?
it
We
was
were
it
gonna
was
do it for
it
30
was
days, but it was
quick.
less than
It
that.
was less than a week and you were like,
Yeah.
this is just not for me. Like you're like
Yeah.
this is a waste of money. So we
Yeah.
returned it and you pivoted to something else. I forget what you pivoted to. It might have been the Z Flip or
I think I
something.
went to the Flip. Yeah.
But yeah, you were just like, I'm not. You were like, you're opening it and just using the one screen. You're like,
Yeah,
I
I was
never turn this other screen on. Like
I
this
was
is
opening one screen and then just whatever was on the other screen, I never even looked at it.
yeah.
I
So
was just like, meh.
it's interesting that with a tablet with just one single large screen, you now do find the utility. So
Yeah, and I didn't think I would like just having one screen, but I do. And what's funny too is like multiple times when I've been reading, you've been like, "Oh, Jessi, you know that you can change the layout to where there's like one one page on this side and one
two
page on
pages.
that side." Yeah, two pages on the screen, and I've just been like, "Oh yeah, that looks really cool," but then I just never use it. I
You
just only
prefer.
use it like this.
Yeah. So honestly,
Yeah.
this has been a much better fit for you than I think either one of us was expecting. It's tough because it's still very new and I still am using it for content and so forth from time to time. But I do think that the Fold 6, I think you would experience a pretty big uplift overall from Fold 4 to Fold 6. The fact it's so much thinner and it feels much nicer.
Mhm.
So maybe in the not so distant future, we'll pivot you from the Fold 4 to the 6 and see how you feel about that. We'll see.
That would be super nice, but I'm also very nervous.
I did buy the pink one on your advice as well, so I mean, it does
Yeah,
seem
I was like,
practical.
you got it. For everyone who was like, Shane, why did you get the pink one? It's because I was literally over his shoulder being like, you got to get the pink one.
And I just went, okay. So I ordered the pink one.
I was like, maybe in the future I'll get to use it. And also, it just stood out.
All right, guys, of course, big thanks to, again, my special guest for this video, my wife, Jessi. By the way, she does have a YouTube channel where she sometimes streams games and posts some of her cozy gaming content, so I will put a link to that in the description down below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Drop some comments down below about your thoughts. I'll see you on the next one, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.